This summer, if you see one film, make sure it's a good one. Now let's go sift through the trailer trash of modern cinema with Lyndon Puffin. Brought to you by Kiwi FM online and in 3D.
Yeah, let's go sail the high seas of movie trailers with Lyndon Puffin. It's dangerous out there. G'day, Lyndon.
Oh, good morning. It's not just dangerous, it's cold out there, right? Right, I've got 3.5 films for you guys this morning. I've got one, Matt Damon's biggest new blockbuster. I've got this hardcore, visceral, real-life war documentary from a valley in Afghanistan. And I've got The Killer Inside Me, which is that's a noir thriller by Michael Winterbottom. And then something possibly even more horrendous than the infamous Human Centipede. But roll on the first one, The Adjustment Bureau, Mr. Wams. Roll that one.
What is this? We are the people who make sure things happen according to plan. We monitor the entire world.
Can't outrun your fate, David.
You've just seen behind a curtain that you weren't even supposed to know existed. This is your plan, and we're determined to keep it that way. You bumped into a woman this morning on the bus.
Were you just staring at my legs?
I was defenseless against the dress.
What does that have to do with anything? Your path through the world is supposed to have been adjusted. You weren't ever supposed to see her again.
If you truly love her, just walk away.
Walk away, Lyndon. Walk away.
If you truly love her, walk away. I'm sure I saw the guy from Mad Men in there as well. But look, Wams, do you remember that awesome sci-fi TV program from the mid-'80s called The Twilight Zone?
Yes.
It was sort of like the forerunner of the X-Files, I guess. Well, I've never forgotten this one episode, which was all about how there was this team of builders that lived just a few minutes ahead of the rest of us, civilization, and their job was to keep constructing our future. This explained how when we lost a set of car keys that we sure we'd left on the table, it was because they had forgotten to replace them. And then they would put them somewhere else so we could find them, like in the fruit bowl. And we'd be like, but we never put them in the fruit bowl. But, you know, we're in such a rush, we grabbed them and out the door we go. Well, this concept is based on a 1954 short story by the late Philip K. Dick called The Adjustment Team. And it's now been expanded into a full-length, big-budget blockbuster starring Matt Damon called The Adjustment Bureau. So out of interest, other Philip K. Dick stories that have been turned into movies include Blade Runner, Total Recall, Screamers, Minority Report, A Scanner Darkly, amongst others. Sadly, how Philip died of a stroke in 1982 at the age of 53, having spent most of his life in near poverty just as Blade Runner was being made. Bugger. So The Adjustment Bureau. Actually, the trailer's been out for a couple of months, or a couple of weeks, I should say now, but I've been avoiding it, you know, I suppose, due to the Matt Damon factor. Should I apologise, though? I'm not so sure. See, Matt Damon plays an up-and-coming, charismatic US congressman who falls head over heels for some beautiful ballet dancer, but for some reason, fate just doesn't, it just doesn't let them be. It seems to keep them apart. Well, does it? You see, I'm not sure how, but Damon figures out that he's up against the men that create fate, the men that create the future, the men that have the plan, and they do all seem to be men. Now, he's a guy who's used to getting what he wants, so when the men from the Adjustment Bureau capture him and take him into the future and tell him how things actually work and that he was never actually meant to fall in love with his girl and that if he actually persists, he will ruin both his and her futures, he tells them that actually he'll risk it all for love. Now, I guess you have to go see the film to see how it all pans out. You know, my guess is that it goes bad. Both of them die early on, and we learn that you can't play with fate. Or not. Director George Nolfi wrote the scripts for Ocean's 12, The Sentinel, The Bourne Ultimatum. So, if you like those films, you might want to look out for The Adjustment Bureau. I didn't, so I won't. Bad feeling. 2 stars. Let's do the next one. Restrepo.
Everybody's like, oh, you're going to the Korengal? Oh, and they feel sorry for you. Deadliest place on earth, the Korengal Valley.
We're not ready for this.
I'm thinking, what are we doing?
First friend I lost was Restrepo.
Where Restrepo died, we shot off flares.
In the middle of the night, we put up a fire base. They realized once they could not knock off OP Restrepo, we had the upper hand.
Wow, I'm hooked already, Lyndon.
Yeah, this does look good, this. Restrepo, right. I guess films like Hurt Locker and Black Hawk Down and Thin Red Line, they try to give us a glimpse and make us feel what real war tastes like. And to a certain extent, they do. So long as we're able to suspend the reality of the actors involved and the well-scripted dialogue and the orchestral soundtrack, it might be close, but it's not really real. Well, if you want to know what it's actually like, you might want to check out this visceral-looking doco called Restrepo, because it just won the Grand Jury Prize for Best Documentary in the world at the 2010 Sundance Film Festival, which is a biggie. And as the catchphrase goes, it's about one platoon, one valley, for 1 year. But not with one of those voices on, I don't think, because it's pretty real. Award-winning journalist Sebastian Junger and distinguished British war photographer Tim Hetherington, they capture the lives of the 2nd Platoon Battle Company of the 173rd Airborne Brigade of the US Army as they spend a year on mission in Afghanistan's infamous Karengal Valley, regarded as one of the most dangerous places on Earth. The name Restrepo comes, if you saw that, from one of their fallen comrades, Medic Juan Restrepo, who's killed early on in the film and in their mission. And his name is given to a strategic outpost called OP Restrepo that they establish and attempt to hold on to as the fighting intensifies against the local Taliban. Now, from what I can tell, Wams, this is no big picture. It simply stands as a ground zero observation of the life of a modern fighting soldier, the camaraderie that helps them make it through each day or helps them cope when one of their family doesn't make it through each day. So there's no tricky plot twists, no judgment calls on the pointlessness of war, just the reality of being there, of coping with accidentally killing civilians and the adrenaline that won't let you sleep, dealing with local villagers and sharing no common language and arguing over cows. I've seen... long periods of boredom interspersed with action seem to be the kind of flavour of this, but it just looks so real. It's called Restrepo, and it does look relevant as well. And I don't want to say good because it seems not the right word to use, not respectful enough, but it looks really good. So I'm giving Restrepo 4 stars and stripes this morning, Whams. Let's go The Killer Inside Me. Whoop, that was a...
Lakeland lives about 4 or 5 miles out on Derrick Road.
Well, how shall I handle it?
Just go out and size her up. I know you'll be as gentle and pleasant as you can be.
Yes?
Sheriff's office, ma'am. The trouble with growing up in a small town is everybody thinks they know who you are.
What you want?
Well, I guess I want you out of Central City by sundown. I'm gonna run you in for prostitution.
Lousy son of
Out here, you're a man and a gentleman, or you aren't anything at all.
Get off me.
Lambs, you there? Right, so when the trailer for this one, The Killer Inside Me, went up last week, I was reminded of this little kind of media storm that followed the premiere screenings at Sundance and Berlin film festivals earlier this year. You see, there was a heap of expectation surrounding acclaimed director Michael Winterbottom's noir thriller, because Michael Winterbottom made Wonderland, 24-Hour Party People, The Road to Guantanamo, and rumour was that the lead actor, Casey Affleck, had turned out an Oscar-worthy performance, and this was the film to watch out for. However, at both these festivals and others that followed, the audience reaction was overwhelmingly negative, with outbreaks of booing and huge walkouts of the cinema in protest of the what they said people saw as gratuitous violence to women, and in particular an elongated graphic beating to a pulpy death of the prostitute character played by Jessica Alba there. A similar reaction accompanied Lars von Trier's most recent film Antichrist at similar festivals last year. However, where it was almost expected of von Trier, there was no such similar history of violence to Bottom's previous efforts. So what was the skinny? What was he doing? Does The Killer Inside Me cross the line, or is it a necessary part of developing the plot, as Winterbottom argued at the heated press conferences that followed him all over the place? Or are our audiences just growing increasingly weary of shocking violence? Maybe we're over it, I mean... Anyway, having not actually seen the film, I'll have to leave you to make up your own mind when you go. But you've been warned, which is all I can do at this point. Now, here's a quick plot summary. Casey Affleck, younger brother of Ben, plays the role of a psychopathic small-town sheriff in 1950s America. He has an abusive affair with a prostitute who he's supposed to be kicking out of town, but instead manipulates his position of power over her, which grows more and more violent until it all comes crashing down around him. Now, Stanley Kubrick is reported as saying that this is the most chilling and believable first-person story of a criminally warped mind that I have ever encountered. That's pretty big props. Early reviews have compared it to the Coen brothers' No Country for Old Men. Controversy aside, though, it's a very compelling trailer. Casey Affleck was brilliant in the assassination of Jesse James. So if you like it dark, you like dark, violent, noir thrillers, mark this one down. I'll hedge my bets and give it 3 Sheriff Badge stars this morning, as I'm not that big on violence myself. But lastly, I just want to end on something a little more upbeat, since that's all been pretty dark. Those of you who, like my sister, loved and watched the original High School Musical, Grease, hundreds and hundreds of times over, will be really excited to know that Grease is being re-released into cinemas with, get this, all the words to the songs scrolling along the bottom of the big screen so that the whole cinema can sing along together. I mean, is this bad enough to be good, or is this just really what hell might be like? Once again, you can decide. Let's go out on a bit of Grease, but that is Trailer Trash for another week. Hi, Dad.
Cheers, London.
See it like you've never seen it before at the Grease Sing-Along.
Summer loving had me up last